2019 has been a fantastic year for Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch, but I think 2020 is going to be even bigger and better. In today's video, I'm going to share with you all my predictions for Nintendo's 2020. And let me tell you, I've got some pretty big and bold predictions that I think are going to really excite some people if they come true. So without further ado, let's get into my predictions for Nintendo's 2020. Now let's start about what we do know for Nintendo's 2020. We do know for sure that the following games are going to come out on Nintendo Switch in 2020. And those games are Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and No More Heroes 3 unless it is delayed. Now this is already the start of a promising lineup of games for the Nintendo Switch for the year of 2020, but I think Nintendo is going to go all out next year, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest years the Nintendo Switch has had in terms of first-party releases. Now I want to start with a bang. I am pretty certain that Nintendo is going to release The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 Holiday 2020. And I have several reasons for thinking that this might be the case. First off, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was released on March 3rd, 2017, and it took about 5 years for Nintendo to develop that game. The reason that it probably took so long for them to develop is because they had to build a new game engine and new physics engine for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now I think that we can safely assume 3 key things that lead me to believe Breath of the Wild 2 comes out in holiday 2020. Number 1, I think we can safely assume that Nintendo started developing the sequel to Breath of the Wild as soon as the first game was released. I really believe that they started it immediately. Number 2, we can assume that they're going to use the same physics engine and same game engine as the first Breath of the Wild. And number 3, we can also safely assume that they're probably going to use the same map to a degree as a base for the open world map in the sequel. Now with these assumptions in mind, I think we can safely assume that Breath of the Wild 2's development time will probably be cut in half, conceivably. So if they started developing it around March 2017 and they finished development midway through 2020 for a release holiday 2020, that's 3 full years of development time, which of course makes sense because they're using so many previous things from the first game, which should cut down on development time. So Breath of the Wild 2's teaser trailer was shown off at E3 2019. I think E3 2020 we get a full-blown reveal of Breath of the Wild 2 for a holiday 2020 release. If Nintendo does this, it's going to really help to boost Switch hardware sales for holiday 2020, which will help Nintendo compete with the upcoming next PlayStation and next Xbox console. And this idea is the basis for many of the predictions that I have in today's video. Next year, the sales for the PS4 and the Xbox One will be on the downslope because everybody's getting ready to purchase the new consoles when they release holiday 2020. I think Nintendo is going to take full advantage of this downslope in sales of their competitors and just blow out 2020 with just so many awesome first party releases so that they can sell tons and tons of Switch hardware and software. My next big prediction for 2020 is that we will get a Super Mario Odyssey 2 released sometime in 2020. Just like with Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Wii, I think Nintendo probably had way too many cool ideas for Super Mario Odyssey to pack into one game, and I think they're going to take these ideas and immediately put them into a sequel. I think that's one of the reasons why we didn't get any DLC for Super Mario Odyssey, because they wanted to take these ideas and immediately start working on a sequel. And I would, if I had to guess, I would say they started working on the sequel as soon as Super Mario Odyssey came out. And since they're going to probably use the same game engine and the same physics engine and probably some of the same assets, it should cut development time way down, which could conceivably put us at a 2020 release for a Super Mario Odyssey sequel. Also, this would mimic 2017, where we got Super Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild in the same year. Now I also have another little prediction for Super Mario Odyssey 2. I think they might actually take this opportunity to not only make Super Mario Odyssey 2, but also sort of make it a Super Mario Galaxy 3. Picture this, if you will. What if they combined the mechanics of Super Mario Odyssey with the mechanics of the Super Mario Galaxy series into one game? Wouldn't that be epic? That could be a masterpiece, and I hope that that's what Nintendo is doing. My next huge prediction for 2020 is that we get a Mario Kart 9. Mario Kart 8 was originally released on the Wii U on May 29th, 2014. So come May 2020, that will be 6 years since the last brand new Mario Kart game. And I know Mario Kart 8 was re-released on the Switch as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but even that was 3 years ago, and that wasn't a new Mario Kart game. Oh, and I do not count Mario Kart Tour on smartphones as a new Mario Kart game. The longest time prior to this that we went between new Mario Kart releases was 5 years between Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart Super Circuit. So we are long overdue for a Mario Kart game, and I think Mario Kart 9 will hit in 2020. Bayonetta 3 was originally announced at the 2017 Game Awards. It was sort of slated for a 2019 release, but that has since then been changed to TBA. I think the game is either very close to being done or already done, and Nintendo just decided not to release it in 2019 and hold it for 2020 to help fill out 2020 a little bit more. And also, Astral Chain from Platinum Games released in 2019, so they probably didn't want to release Bayonetta 3 in the same year to compete with Astral Chain. So I really think that we're going to get Bayonetta 3 in 2020 from Nintendo and Platinum Games. So how about Metroid Prime 4? Now, I do not think that we will get Metroid Prime 4 in 2020, but what I do think is that we're going to get some kind of news or updates or information about Metroid Prime 4 in 2020, whether it's a teaser trailer of some kind or just some kind of information about the game. Now, what I do think we'll get in 2020 is a Metroid Prime HD trilogy re-release on the Switch. This has been rumored for a long time now. I think it's been done for a while, and Nintendo has just been holding on to it. I think they're finally going to drop it probably towards the end of 2020 to help not only hold fans over for Metroid Prime 4's release, which I think will hit in 2021, but also to bring new fans into the Metroid Prime series and get them prepped for Metroid Prime 4's release in 2021, hopefully. I also think there's going to be some kind of new 2D Metroid game released on the Switch in 2020. There have actually been rumors going around about this for a little while now. Some people are actually saying that it's going to be a remake of Super Metroid. I don't know if any of this is true. These are all just rumors, but that would be really cool to get a new 2D Metroid game on the Switch in 2020 to help hold us over for Metroid Prime 4's release. I also think that there's a very small possibility we might get a new Mario Party game in 2020, simply because Super Mario Party was released in 2018 and it didn't get any DLC, so I think they immediately started working on a new Mario Party game. So there's a chance it could come out in 2020, but the thing about it is I'm already predicting Mario Odyssey 2 and I'm already predicting Super Mario Kart, so I don't know if they'll release that much Mario in 2020, but then again, Nintendo does seem to like releasing 2 or 3 Mario games a year, so it could happen. We'll just have to wait and see. I also think that we're going to see at least one new AAA IP from Nintendo in 2020, as well as one smaller new IP, maybe sort of an indie game from Nintendo in 2020 as well. And I think we're going to see some Wii and Wii U ports. I think we're going to see a Wii re-release of No More Heroes 1 and 2 HD for the Switch to help get fans ready and prepared for No More Heroes 3. I also think we're going to get a Wii U port of the wonderful 101. That's one that fans have been calling for a while now. Platinum Games has hinted at it a little bit, said that they have interest in it. So I think we'll finally get that in 2020. And lastly, I think we're going to get a Wii U port of Pikmin 3 on the Nintendo Switch in preparation for my next prediction, is that we finally get the long-awaited Pikmin 4 on the Switch in 2020. This game has been rumored to be done with development for quite some time now, and I think Nintendo's finally going to release it in 2020 to help fill out the year even more and make it even bigger and better. Now, with the massive success of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, I think that there's a chance that Nintendo and Game Freak could release a new game in the Let's Go series for 2020. Maybe a Let's Go version of Gold and Silver, or they may end up releasing the next remake in the series of remake Pokemon games that they have been doing. It's really hard to say, but regardless, I think Nintendo and Game Freak are going to release some kind of new Pokemon game in 2020. It's just kind of up in the air as to what that might be. As far as third-party game support goes for the Switch in 2020, I think it could honestly go either way. It's possible that most third-party companies will be busy working on new games for next-gen consoles, for PS5 and the next-gen Xbox. It's possible that they could be too busy working on games for those consoles and not putting out as many third-party games on the Switch and PS4 and Xbox One. However, I think it's probably the other way. I think that we're going to see quite a few third-party games hit the Switch in 2020 because of the massive audience and install sizes of both the Switch and the PS4. I think third-party developers are going to continue to develop for those consoles to take advantage of that huge market while they can before next-gen hardware is released. Another big prediction for 2020 is that I think Nintendo will release a new console on the Nintendo Switch Online service. I think it could either be the Game Boy family of systems, being Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, or it could be the Nintendo 64. I kind of hope they do the Nintendo 64, because could you imagine being able to play some of the classic Nintendo 64 games online or locally with friends and family on the Switch? That would be incredible. So I hope Nintendo does the Nintendo 64 for their next console for their online service. Now, with next-gen consoles right around the corner, the gap in power between the Nintendo Switch hardware and its competitors is fixing to get larger and larger. And that gap in power is going to result in less and less third-party ports from next-gen consoles being ported to the Nintendo Switch, if not impossible for them to be ported to the Nintendo Switch. It's going to result in less third-party games on the Switch in the future. So, there is a possibility, now I will admit this is a stretch, but there is a possibility that Nintendo could release a Nintendo Switch Pro model holiday 2020 to help them compete with next-gen hardware and bring that power gap a little bit smaller. Like I said, this one is a stretch. I'm sort of leaning towards they're not going to do this in 2020. I'm sort of leaning towards they'll release a Switch Pro in 2021, maybe early 2021 or midway through the year. I do think that there will be a more powerful version of the Switch coming in the very near future. However, very near future being the next year or two. I mean, I just don't see that Nintendo has any choice if they want to keep getting third-party support for the Switch. So if we take what we know and all the predictions that I've laid out in this video, then here is what Nintendo's 2020 will look like for the Switch. Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, No More Heroes 3, No More Heroes 1 and 2 HD, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Super Mario Odyssey 2, Mario Kart 9, Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime Trilogy HD, a new 2D Metroid game, maybe a new Mario Party game, some type of new AAA IP, a new smaller IP, a Wii U port of Wonderful 101 and Pikmin 3, Pikmin 4, a new Pokemon Let's Go game, either a Game Boy family of systems or Nintendo 64 addition to the Switch Online, possibly a Nintendo Switch Pro, and a whole bunch of third-party games. If I am even remotely close to what Nintendo Switch's lineup will look like in 2020, then this is going to be the biggest, best, and most epic year that Nintendo has had for the Nintendo Switch. These predictions may be a bit bold and a bit ambitious, but hey, sometimes you gotta dream big, folks. And those are my predictions for Nintendo's 2020 for the Nintendo Switch. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about my predictions today. Also, let me know in the comments down below what some of your predictions for Nintendo's 2020 are. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure and smash that like button. It really helps out the channel, and I greatly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. If you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button so that you can join the Retro Wolf family, and also hit that notification bell so that you don't miss future awesome videos that I have planned for the channel. Keep playing games and having a good time, and I will see you all in the next video later.